And it looks like we're live. Hey, happy Friday, happy Pi Day, happy drama, everybody. This is your old buddy. God, I hate the people who do that. This is your old buddy Dave, and we here to start another show. Yes, I'm starting early, cracking myself up. But good afternoon. This is David Rush, senior instructor with Total Seminars, and we are starting Pi Day Friday. It's a 3-day weekend here in the States. Everybody has Monday off. I'll get into that in just a little bit. Uh, I'm not here alone, though I appear to be alone, as you may know, and I can see I'm already posting over here. Scott Jernigan is with me, editor-in-chief at Total Seminars, author in his own right, fine author in his own right, and he's even getting a little bit ahead of the game on the book that he and Mike are writing. Mike is writing, he is editing, and he hit a stall point on something, and this is a multi-stage process, so he was able to move ahead on another area. I had a little time to talk to him because of the stall. We had 6 minutes to talk together about life and limb and property and books. So wonderful news. Let me get my screens changed up here and make everything look like it's supposed to. So welcome to Drama, also known as Pi Day Friday. This is actually Drama, Dave Rush, Ask Me Anything. I am Dave Rush, and you can ask me anything. But we call it Dramas because it's Dave Rush, Ask Me Anything, and Scott. Scott sometimes appears on camera depending on his workload. And when his workload is high, like it is now, then he works the background. He answers questions, adds commentary, bans bad guys. He's Senor Banhammer when necessary. He does research, does postings for me, so I don't have to type them in. All around good guy and completely open to your questions here. We're willing to talk about anything. It tends to be tech oriented, but open topic, everything goes except religion and politics. Every now and again, somebody tries to sneak politics in there. Please, that and COVID, I've just had enough of. The country and the world has just had their fill of both of these things. So let's do what we nerds do, and we'll talk tech and we'll talk turkey. So we call it Pi Day Friday because we get together every Friday, 2 o'clock Central Time, Central Standard, Central Daylight, whatever is the prevailing environment at the moment. And we talk about CompTIA certifications and Raspberry Pis and how they can go together. So we've done a lot of really neat projects in the last 40 weeks or so. Can't wait till we get our 1-year anniversary. I want to do something really exciting to celebrate it. I don't know what it's going to be, but we got 20 more weeks or so before that. How about, good Lord, it's 52 weeks in a year. We have 11 weeks. I didn't put that together until this very second. So I'm behind. I try to get things planned out starting about 3 months in advance. So now I got something to do this week. But we get together every week on Fridays from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock to talk about how to use Raspberry Pis to help us in our studies, those of us who are locked down and unable to travel or go to classes or things like that during these infectious Corona days. We like Raspberry Pis because they're neat little computers. They're inexpensive, they're small, they're powerful, they're flexible, and they are great ways to learn things like Linux, and all kinds of support tools for things that are great for CompTIA. So we can make SMB servers out of them and FTP servers and web servers and all kinds of other goodies. The same thing goes for clients. We've done VPN tunnels on them. We've done DNS servers and many, many more. And all those things apply very directly to various CompTIA objectives. The one we're doing today is not a close tie to any particular objective. Excuse me, lemonade for the throat. Time to get it loosened up. We're going to do something that sometimes we do, is just the fact that Dropbox is really cool and there's really amazing stuff available to run on it. And we're going to set up a piece of software on it today called NextCloud. NextCloud is the follow-on product to a product called OwnCloud. And OwnCloud was an open source application that kind of mimicked the functionality of Dropbox or Google Drive or things like that. So it's very powerful, it's very flexible, and it has turned into much more than what it was. When it was OwnCloud, it was okay, a simple Dropbox knockoff. And then NextCloud got it, and they started adding pieces to it, like group calendaring and Teams and things like that. And the last time I installed a Dropbox was a couple years ago, 2 years ago, 2.5, something like that. Uh, and it ran fine for years and years and years. And I kind of abandoned it since I've been operating here at home. So I was all set to do the same kind of install that I did back then. But good news, that's a complicated process. You have to install OwnCloud. You have to install a SQL server base, a SQL server database, and SQL server, server. There we go, SQL server. And then you got the two of them. You got to get them integrated, and it's a 2-hour project. And when you take the real-time aspects in it, you got to wait this long for something to happen. It's a 2-day project, at least the first time I ever did it. But there is a group out there who said, hey, if you want to do that, knock yourself out. There's a million tutorials out there, but we have an idea. We'll do a fresh Pi installation, and then we'll do the installation of all the stuff that you need and get it all pre-configured, and then save it as an image. Now that image is huge, so they had to compress it, and then they had to compress it again to make it practical as a download. But they finally did that. And so it's not coming from OwnCloud. It's coming from a different group who said, we're just going to take this project and make it easy for everybody. So all we have to do is download the double compressed file, decompress it, a little bit of customizing on it. I'll show you how we're going to do that. Literally takes, in the real world, when you do it, 30 seconds. When I do it, it'll take 5 minutes. You know how it goes. And then once you've got the image all configured and extracted, then you burn it to a storage device. Let's go with that, and we'll add to that whatever you're going to use as your primary storage device on your Raspberry Pi. And then you do your first boot, just like you do a first boot of any kind of operating installation on a Raspberry Pi. And it does a lot of very long gyrations. That's definitely one that you might want to do before you go to bed at night. It's not that bad. It's not an 8-hour job, but it takes a while. And so much better just get it started and then go to bed. And when you're in the morning, you're all ready to get started again. There's a couple other long-term steps in between there, but it's a very simple configuration after that's done. And all the complexity and the integration has been removed. It's a really, really nice package. So that's going to be our big project for the day. I also have a little 5-minute project today. I'll show you that when I get things in order here. All right, let's see what I missed on intros. Scott's here. Sec Plus book done. Working on N10008. Man, that's exciting. He's getting a lot more team members, techno team members in the company involved. Me to some extent. Michael Smyer, who many of you have met online here, our super genius guru. Man, he's a wonderful guy. And another member of his brain trust, gent. We never mentioned his name. He's a shy guy, doesn't want his name mentioned. So until or unless that changes. But getting more and more team members involved in research and writing and things like that to help the progress along. This being Friday, and Scott and Mike being deep in the woods as far as the book goes, I haven't spoken with Scott specifically about this, but my presumption is as soon as 4 o'clock rolls around, he's off to a meeting with the publisher, and Mike, of course, too. So if they're going to turn up on Discord today, it'll be a while. I will be there right after cleanup. So we're doing Discord today, and anybody who doesn't have that link, I'll throw that up shortly. Checking my notes. Oh, yeah. Obligatory, right? As always, I thank you for participating in this. If you're not here, there's no reason to do this. So thanks for coming. We're having a great time with these things. And many thanks to Mike Myers himself for letting me use this day and this time instead of working on company work to do this show. And we do this. He knows that it's not for me and it's not for him. It's for you. Yes, there is a meeting with the publisher at 4 o'clock. So no surprise. But I know that you're doing so well. It'll be a 5-minute meeting. Oh, wait a minute. Last week's meeting got Gafoobered. It's going to be a long meeting, even if everything's going great. So we'll see you. So again, many thanks to Mike for letting us have this time to get together and talk about these topics. I was talking to him the other day. He peeked in on one of our sessions. He didn't say anything. He just wanted to watch and see what we were talking about, and he actually learned something new. And only found that out when he was talking about it on his, I think, Monday show. Speaking of Monday, this is a 3-day weekend in the U.S. It's Memorial Day. We honor our fallen military service members, and so it's a national holiday. I checked in with Scott and Mike, and they are doing the show on Monday as usual. I also will be there. My missus is out of town. I got no place to be, so I will be here working the background as always for Mike's show. Mike at this point does not have a special on the show, but we got a Monday show. So anybody who doesn't know, if you're watching this on the archive, I'm looking at everybody here, and everybody's a regular and they all know this stuff, but we get together Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 2:00 Central Time. Mike does a 2-hour show. He's been doing it with Scott for the last, 3 or 4 weeks, and that's a regular. I know he's planning on doing it on Monday, so it's a wonderful thing. When they're writing together and they're over at Mike's place together, when Mike stops, no reason for Scott to continue. They can't confab, so Scott's been joining in, and that's been great. They've been upgrading their equipment and Mike's house into something much more studio-like. So if you haven't caught Mike on his Tuesday or Monday or Wednesday show on this very channel, 2:00 Central, do that. It's a heck of a show. It's informative. It's education. And when Scott and Mike get together, they're off the rails. They're fun and funny and smart all at the same time. So catch that show, and you can talk with them live or at least on text. And then when we get back together after the show is on Discord, you can talk to us live with cameras and microphones, and it's a hoot. Oh, let's see. Did that, covered all that. Pi Square server is up and up all day. I have today's archive already in it. I added a couple notes to my main archives right now, but nothing that you need to refer to afterwards. So if you want to download anything from there, I also threw up pictures of last weekend's gig. It was just a stage job. It's nothing really amazing, but some people have expressed interest in my side hustle, so I'm going to make that a repository for pictures of interesting gigs. Anyways, last weekend, not that interesting. We set up a stage and some skirting for a band, but it's there. So this is an AMA. Ask me anything. Again, outside religion and politics. And you can do that here on the text. If you're not on live for the text, you're watching it on the archive, you're watching it. You got a question that you don't want to post in public, you're shy, it's too long. There are other ways to contact myself or Mike or Scott, and we encourage you to take advantage of those methods. I clicked on the wrong app. It was going to be so smooth, but you just can't win some days. You can contact us by email. So I'm at daver@totalsem.com because I'm Dave Rush. You can also catch me at my personal email, drushtx@yahoo. You can catch Scott. He's Scott Jernigan, so scottj@totalsem.com. And you can communicate directly with Mike Myers himself if you like. He loves to get your emails. He will answer them directly sometimes. Sometimes he saves them up for a presentation on one of his AMAs. However it works out, Michael M@totalsem.com. Catch us also on LinkedIn and Steam. Scott is Scarhart. Mike is Senor Pepe. I'm Blood Rush TX. I was at the office yesterday. My machine at the office is good enough to game by, and I've got a project that's been assigned to me that's going to take 3 weeks, and a lot of that time is going to be down at the office where I have to go into one room, get a process started, and then head back to my office and do things. And I'm going to add a little bit of gaming time to that. So watch for me during daylight hours Central Time on Borderlands, certainly. And I downloaded Borderlands 3. I tried it on this machine. It failed. But I suppose I could at least, for the sake of signatures, join WoW, this WoW Classic tournament kind of thing that Mike and Scott and Tullowit and others are putting together. So I'll join up, make a character right quick just to add to your bulk. I haven't played it in the past, and from what I've gathered and garnered from the conversations that have been happening online in our various forums. I'm a two-handed drinker. I filled it full, all right? They prefer people who've had a little more experience in order to do some of the quests that they're up to. So we'll see. So, all right, that's the in-depth questions. Post here. All right, well, let's see what's going on here at time 14:15, exactly right where it should be. Nigel was the first one in. He's awesome. If he says so himself. Got in at 1:35, 25 minutes before showtime. And Andre came in as Ahmed the terrorist. We used to live in LA, and back when Jeff Dunham was still honing his craft early on and only had one puppet, we would go catch him at the comedy store down there, and he's a fun guy. Andre is multitasking, waiting for drama to start. It started, Andre, while cloning a hard drive, and I posted him a question and see if he, oh yeah, he's using Minitool Partition Wizard to do cloning. Okay, hope that works. I use a product from Ease US. I'm not saying it's better or worse because there's 50,000 partition management products out there. That's just the one that I've glommed on for the last year. And in fact, that's going to be our project number 2. We'll call it project number 1. And that's how to wipe out all of your partitions and volumes on, let's say, a micro SD card that you've used for a project and are done with, and you want to clean it off, you want to burn a new image to it. You should just be able to burn right over it. But old school that I am, I like to clean them off first because there used to be a small problem. You would start out with a small fat partition, 32 megabytes or 128 megabytes now they're up to. And then you get an ext partition. And when you start to use the burner software, it would only recognize the little fat partition. And it says, I can't put an operating system on there. And so we had to go wipe out all of the partition and volume information on the micro SD card. And then we were able to burn it. I think that problem has been done now, but there's still valid reasons to wipe one out. So I'm going to show you how to do that. It'll take me 5 minutes to show you to do it. And once you've done it once or twice, you can do it in 45 seconds. A Western Digital Bluetooth 50 SSD, nice. I like the WD Blues. Housing of an external hard drive, mom's laptop, and partition wizard. Okay, cool. Ellen Duggan's here, Tullowitz here. Greetings, guys. Scott's here. Yeah, the title was for May 21st. The people who set this stuff up. The project is very distributed. This person presets up the stream, and this person makes the banner for it, and this person does that, and the talent does nothing but press the big red button at the beginning and the end of the show. So yesterday I noticed that the new stuff wasn't put up, and then I realized, oh, the person who does that is on vacation. So I reached out to somebody else to do it, and they did it this morning, but again, it was a copy paste job. So I can fix this afterwards. So when it's in the archive, I have access to the tools now to change this. So it won't say Friday, May 21st. It'll say May 28th. But yeah, it was just a typo in it today. It will get fixed. This is May 28th. Reading questions. Patricia Grace, who pointed out the title problem. Thank you. Also says, hey, nerd chiefs, Dave Rush and Scott Jernigan, along with other lesser nerds. There are no lesser nerds than me. And everybody here is a highly qualified nerd. Good for you. No experience needed to join us in WoW. Yeah, but Mike said something that indicated his preference. Bet it's alcohol. You'll lose that bet, amigo. I drink less than anybody except a total teetotaler. So a total teetotaler. So this is lemonade. Pure and simple and good for the throat. A couple of bottles of wine a year, a couple of bottles or cans of beer a year, and that's my limit. Do you use Rufus to format it? Says Silvio. I use Rufus to make bootable thumb drives. I do not use them to make bootable devices, use it to make bootable devices for Raspberry Pi. I can't see a reason why you couldn't, shouldn't, or wouldn't, but I have used in the past Beretta Etcher, which has always been a fine program. Before that, Win32 Disk Write, is that the name of the program? I think I still have it here because I've switched. Win32 Disk Imager is what I've historically used. Then I switched to Beretta Etcher. And then a few months ago, maybe 6, Raspberry Pi group came up with their own image writer, the Raspberry Pi Imager, it's called. And that's what I'm using. And they updated and improved it a few weeks ago. And wow, that's really made an incredible difference. And I'm going to demo that today as part of our project. So I'll show you. I have showed you this in the past, but so I'll do a very quick version of it. Rufus is great. I use Rufus for imaging Linux, bootable Linux partitions on thumb drives and external SSDs and external hard drives. Same thing for Windows. If I want to boot up and do a Windows installation, you can use the Microsoft Media Creator. Again, old man that I am. I switch back and forth, but I have used Rufus for many years. Okay, moving on. Andrew Hutz is here, checking in with each other. Jason Helms. Sorry, Jesse Helms. I do that all the time. Says to me, I appreciate your help with command line the other week. My pleasure. Definitely getting the hang of it. And all you got to do is use it every day, right? Same boat. I am not an expert. I'm an okay guy at this stuff, but I use it every day. And there are things that I do every day that have become natural and native to me that a year ago, 6 were, I got to look that up. Oh, Alex is here. Ciao, Alex. Checking in with everybody checking back. Silvio, I had a problem to format my 128 gig. Only Rufus was able to format it. Okay. When you say only Rufus, if Rufus can do it, there are other utilities that can do it, but that's what you had handy and that's what worked. So cool. Right. Rufus and Beretta Etcher from Nigel. And again, plenty more out there. All right. That gets us caught up on current questions. I'm going back to my outline and my notes. Remember? Okay, so I say this every week, and then I tell you the specific differences with what we're doing today. So remember, you don't need a Pi to learn Linux command. That's true. Or principles, or Linux structures and file systems and things like that. And you don't need it for about 80% of the projects that we do. What about today's project? Well, we're going to use Windows to do one of the projects, so you certainly don't need that. And that's the wipe out the partition stuff. As far as NextCloud goes, we're using an installation that's specifically designed to run on a Pi. So the installation that we're going to use, you can't do on another distro. It's ARM-based and so forth. But it's very easy to take an existing installed distro and install NextCloud on it. NextCloud isn't, it's agnostic when it comes to CPU. It's all programming. It has nothing to do with core code. So you can run this on Ubuntu or Mint or whatever most other flavors of Linux. But you can't do it the way we're doing it because we're going from, we're going to burn an image that's absolutely specific. It's got a Raspberry Pi OS in there. That's not going to run on any other distro. And then on top of that, it's got pre-installed NextCloud. So where have we been? What have we done? What are we doing here? Last week, we checked out a few of the features of iNetSim, looked at a few of the useful configuration files and logs. Hope you're still having fun with that. I've wiped mine out. I don't have any more use for it right now. I'm not running a HoneyNet or a honeypot in here. So if you call and ask me questions about it, I will answer them, but I'll have to do a fresh install. But we've got it down to a science now. It can be done in fairly short order. Then we moved on to the project of the day, which was setting up micro USB port on a Raspberry Pi Zero to operate in on-the-go mode, also known as gadget mode. And with gadget mode, we turn the Raspberry Pi and or its USB port into a USB peripheral. And in this instance, we turned it into an Ethernet card. So when you hook that up to your regular computer, your Linux machine, your Windows machine, the Linux machine says, oh, I've connected to a USB-based Ethernet card, and it can then talk to your Raspberry Pi over that Ethernet connection, and you can configure it, and you can share the connection on your host computer. Yeah, that's when we'll talk about the Windows of Linux machine, and share that internet connection so that you can update and upgrade and install applications on your Raspberry. And then when you're all done with the Raspberry, you can do whatever you want with it. Maybe you just needed to install a program, perhaps one that you wrote. So it could be an embedded computer on a remote control car or an outdoor sensor or whatever. It doesn't need internet access after that. Or maybe it does need internet access and you're going to have something a little bit more permanent added to it. You get the idea. So that was last week's project. This week's 2 projects, we're going to demonstrate how to remove all volumes and partitions on a storage device using the Windows program DiskPart. It's a 5-minute demo. It's something you can do in under a minute if everything goes normal, and I'll show you what to do. I'll tell you what to do if the abnormal happens. Then our big project of the day, we're going to set up this NextCloud server. It's got features like Dropbox, and it gets rid of all the limitations of Dropbox. And man, when you take a look at this and you say, well, I use Dropbox, this may be a wonderful alternative for you. It's not a panacea. It's not a perfect solution for everybody all the time, but things that it does, that's good stuff, Maynard. All right, let me catch up on a couple more new questions came up, and then we'll do news and tricks and traps. All right, I haven't called out time, Mark. So 2:22, Jason Helms. Oh, Scott always likes me to do this. So if you're reading the YouTube, up on the top of YouTube at the left-hand upper corner of the chat, there's a thing that says top chat or live chat. If you select top chat, it filters things that it thinks might be inappropriate on there. So if you want to see what everybody's posting all the time, just click on top chat and select live chat. Excuse me. And then over to the right of that is 3 vertical dots. Scott would tell us they are vertical ellipses. I'm thinking about, Scott, I don't think they're vertical ellipses. I think ellipses doesn't mean 3 dots. 3 dots is an ellipses that has a specific use and meaning, but just because it's 3 dots, whether or not they're vertical or horizontal or angular or whatever, doesn't make them ellipses. So I'm going to stick with 3 vertical dots. There, I've thrown the gauntlet down. We'll see what happens. At any rate, if you click that, you can click on toggle time mark or timestamp, and you see what time messages are posted. And that way you can follow along with how far behind or ahead I am. I'm never ahead. All right, so 2:22, Jason Helms. A year ago, I was scared to go in there and I was afraid I was going to crash the system. Yeah, right. So that's with everything new, right? Anything that's scary that you've never done, you're going to do for the first time, especially somebody not standing over your shoulder and saying, nope, don't hit the enter key yet. You just got to read and listen to what somebody said or read what somebody said, and then with trembling fingers, hit the big enter key after you've typed something in. And like he says, hope that you're not going to crash the system. And this goes with installing a CPU for the first time. Did I get enough thermal paste on there? Did I have too much? Have I got the power connectors plugged in right? Do I have all the right standoffs screwed down for the motherboard? Is anything going to short out? So that first time, that's totally fear embracing. And then you hit the power switch or you hit the enter key and nothing blows up. And then maybe you see a boot symbol, maybe you see the results of the command that you're doing, and huzzah. And so you're over that hump. Next time, it's still a little bit scary, but it worked fine. The most dangerous thing in the world, of course, is when you get so confident that you get complacent, because one of 2 things happens there. Simple mistake. I do that all the time. There's commands that I run every day, all the time, blindfolded, and hit the enter key, and I'll look over and, oh, forgot to add sudo because it didn't work. Or you're just so confident you did something wrong. Maybe do it out of order, maybe use the wrong command, and comes the big gasp, right? But you keep doing it, you get comfortable, you get confident. 2:22, Tuluit. Anyone of any skill level can join the WoW Guild. Okay. There's some raids and instances require more skill, but we will teach people. We were all new ones. There we go. Maybe that's my problem. Maybe I'm just afraid of WoW because I've never played it. and I'm transferring what I'm thinking Mike said just into translating what I think Mike said into my own fear. So we'll take a whack. No, don't offer money. We got people on here we can beg from. Scott, we got to get a couple of the old folks who have left Total. Scott S., Doug, Ford, and so forth, and get them at least to participate in this opening thing, so you can get the body counts that we need. Michael Smyer, I'm sure he would join in just to help us out here. And you need 6 people. There's 4 right off the bat that I know will help. Thinking of other people, there's one who won't help. We got a couple new people in the company of late. I don't know them well yet, so I don't know if they're gamers, but let's see, 225, 226, Nigel talking to Jason Helms. Jason Helms responds, Silvio, when you do that with Raspberry Pi, if I access on a public Wi-Fi, it's safer. When you do that, somebody remembers that you were talking about, but it wasn't me. But connecting to a public Wi-Fi, no matter what you do, is inherently less safe than using a corporate or a home Wi-Fi. So let me know that you're talking about, and I'll see if I can fill that in, or maybe somebody else was paying closer attention. Maybe I just missed it. I apologize if I did. Disk part. Yeah, list disks, select disks, clean, bye-bye the data. Well, that's exactly it. That's exactly what I'm going to teach and the order I'm going to teach, and a couple other sub-steps and pre-steps. But yes, that's what we're going to do. Raspberry Pi will be like a tail. Man, I'm totally missing the front end. Okay. You're talking about when we do ICS, Internet Connection Sharing. No, when you do internet connection sharing, your computer gets used like a Soho router, and it will let through anything that could have made it to your home computer. So no, it's not safer using ICS. You've got to use all the usual protections and firewalls on the Ras Pi. Okay, I see where you're going with that. Gauntlet accepted. All right, so now Scott is going to research 3 vertical dots and is that ellipses. We're discussing playing a shared game that doesn't require a monthly fee as well. Chat on Discord. Yes, okay. Andrew Hutz at 229. Keep fighting, Andrew. Don't let them assimilate you. Is this a Borg? Wait a minute, that makes you an agent for the Borg. You're telling him you will be assimilated. Scott Jernigan, Nigel, they're talking. Tulowitz talking to Alex. Alice. Andre's talking to Jason. Alice talking to Scott. I'm just reading over. I see an @ in there without my name in it or without the Total Seminars name in there. I'm bypassing. I got stuff to do here soon, and we're going to have fun with it. Jernigan, I'm gathering people. Okay, that's okay. So other people are out shaking the trees. Cool. I think you are going to achieve your goal. Yeah, sorry, figured it out. Got you, Silvio. Oops, sorry, Jason Helms. Okay, so I'm up to 233, caught up with questions. Back to the outline. A couple things. Just basic stuff. Scott, if you would post the link to the Pi_r server. I mentioned Pi_r server's up. I put it up first thing this morning. It'll be up until I go to bed late at night tonight. It'll be very late tonight. The missus is out of town. The kid was going to be out of town, but he's back. He's on an internship, and they had to close down for the weekend a little bit early. So, but I don't have to go to bed early because mom's not here to tell me to. So I work all night when she's out on the road. I can't sleep when she's not here anyways. So it'll be up late, but again, it's got today's archive up. It's got last week archive up. It's got all the stuff that it's always had. You can find it at one word, Pi R Square, Pi, the letter R, SQUARE. Scott just posted it right now at 2:35 local time. PiRSquare.Zapto or Zapto, ZAPTO.org. Oh, heck. So the link is up. What is that? Oh. Yeah, I didn't even make a slide for it today, so everybody's getting used to it. And you heard it, and that's all you need. Move there, open this. Well, I look at one thing and the entire screens have like 5 different applications running to pull this off, and they all get shoved into the background. All right, so I mentioned 2 weeks ago that something or other. Oh yeah, the Raspberry Pi group introduced a new PoE Plus hat, and so I went to buy one right away, and they're back ordered. So I ordered a back order. The world holds its collective breath. That'll get here whenever it gets here. It hasn't even started shipping, and already they're way back ordered, but I'm in the first on that one. But a couple weeks ago, I mentioned this, that Picos, Raspberry Pi Picos, were back in stock. They were sent to the distributors, and so as soon as I got the email, I went to order some, and they were all gone. They get scarfed up instantaneously, especially when they're so cheap. When Pi Zeros were $5 and these things are $4, people buy armloads of them. Hey, I got $100 lying around. I think I'll buy 20 of them. So that's what I did. I said, look, if I can't get them whenever the announcement comes out because everybody's scarfing them up, then I'll just order a bunch of them. And so I ordered half a dozen of them that day, 2 weeks ago. And they said new deliveries are coming in early June or so. Okay, well, hopefully I'm in first in line. 2 days ago, I got an email with shipping tracking information. Now, I don't know if that means that it's shipping and they've already generated the paperwork as if the boxes will be filled and somebody will slap that thing on it, or if they're actually shipping. But I'm thinking I read something about they're going to be here on the 29th tomorrow. So hopefully by the time I see you again next week, I'll have a handful of Picos in hand and one of them done. As to whether or not we're going to do projects with them, if I can find something that's relevant to CompTIA and easy enough to do by discussing it and demoing it so that you'll be successful, then yeah, we'll do Pico projects. Which is contrary to what I said when the Picos came out. Remember, a Pico is not a computer, it's a microcontroller. So it runs programs, but not in the way that a general purpose computer does. And I say that, and yet people are adding monitors to them, and they're adding at least switches, not keyboards, but they're using them like little tiny computers too. So got some pretty cool stuff going on there. That stuff's all done. That's all done. Oh yeah, if the Pi R Square server isn't up and there's something that you want off there, you need an archive, contact me on Discord and I will bring it up. That actually happened early this week. Got a contact from somebody from the Discord channel, a regular here. And so I've always got Discord up and running. If I'm not sleeping, I'm probably sitting right here at this desk or just running an errand. I will get your message in short order, bring it up online until you get what you need. And I usually am willing to leave it up all day. I'm just a little concerned about leaving it up overnight until we get the more secure. And since I mentioned Discord, Scott, if you feel free to toss up the Discord link, I'm going to share it here. So there is a Discord channel called the Unofficial Total Seminars Discord channel. It's unofficial because we have nothing to do with it here at Total Seminars. It was started and operated by our good friend Jose Braden, who just kind of took up the challenge. And it's got over 300 users right now and growing every week. It's awesome. Excuse me. And you can join it right now with the link that I have posted here and the one that Scott just posted now at 2:39. Thank you, Scott. And if this link goes out of date, they're good for about a week. This one came up on Wednesday or Thursday. It's good till next Wednesday or Thursday. But if, you can't wait until we find out what the new one is, just do this one and it'll say it's an invalid link. Underneath that, it'll say continue anyways. So continue anyways, and that will get you to our Discord, to Jose's Discord channel. So we tend to join up there in person with cameras and microphones after AMAs and dramas. And I'm on there all the time as far as texting goes. And if you wanted, break up. One time somebody came on who was new, was really, really excited to find out that Mike Myers himself, the man, the alpha geek, is a regular there, but he wasn't on that day. And he was so disappointed. We were talking, and you mean Mike comes here and I could talk to him if he was here? Yeah. So fortunately, I work for him and I know his phone number and I knew what he was doing that moment. So I called him up and say, hey, would you do a quick favor for a gent who's just dying to meet you? And sure enough, he popped on and they spent 15 or 20 minutes and they even developed a longer email conversation to solve a problem that the gent was having. So join us. I will be there 15, 20 minutes after the show today. Scott may or may not join after his publisher meeting. We'll see, but I'll be there. There's usually at least a half a dozen of us on after drama with mics and cameras. And if you don't have a mic or camera, that's fine. Come on in and text. We'll talk to you and read your text and answer your tests in person with faces and such. Well, I'm getting wordy for something silly. Let's see. There were no old unanswered questions from last week. I don't know why I didn't delete those. That should come out of this file, but that's all right. Editing on the fly. Save. All right. You'll see questions from 2 weeks ago if you download the current archive. No harm, no foul. They were all answered, nothing unanswered from last week. Got the Discord up. All right, so the next thing on my notes is the actual project. Cool, I spelled that in English. I was just looking at it, had a little typo, and thought I spelled it in French, which is just drop the C. So let's check last questions here and then get started on projects a tad early today. That'll be great. And that'll give us plenty of time to answer questions and talk shop at the end of the week. Uh, 2:30, passing it. Conversations with each other. Super scroll, there it goes. As soon as I ignore it for a while, you know it's going to super scroll. Okay, I'm back. All right, passing 2:33. Oh, hey, we got a question here. Silvio at 2:34 says, what is the main purposes for Iptable? So Iptable is the firewall, a firewall in Linux. You can manually edit it with the Iptables command, or you can use third-party Iptables. By default, Iptables is wide open. It's like all firewalls. It's going to let everything. Well, that's not true. Some firewalls are 100% closed, and you can't allow anything in. They tend to block inbound, not outbound. Excuse me. But some are exactly the opposite. They're totally wide open. So I haven't done an episode on Iptables. They've gotten some mention, and I've got a list of ideas that I maintain. Let's save that here today. Is it a text file or is it a Word file? Feature ideas. There it is. I'm going to add Iptables onto our future projects. Okay, notes taken. Okay, there's the PyR square link. And passing 2:34, Alex and Jason talking. Wow, something totally wacky just happened. Am I still with you? Because my screen just did all kinds of really wacky jittering. Ugh. Sorry, stand by. every Word document that I had open all closed at the same time, including my outline. Thank you, sir. And including the show indices for the last couple of years for animes and dramas, so I could look something up. Oh, we did an episode on that. Here's where you find it. But okay, well, that's a word glitch, nothing else, because I did all fresh reboots on all my machines today. All right, I'm still with you. You're still with me. We're cooking. And let me go back into my notes where they were. Gonky donk. I'm hearing phone wonks. I think that's probably Scott on the back channel saying, I'm alive. What does he know? Yes. Thank you, Scott. All right, back to questions. Back to the YouTube feed, which is still there and where it should be. 2:34. Alex talks to Jason. Jason says to me, early, are you always up? What are you, Yoda? Yeah, I used to get up early and go to bed a little earlier than I should. Now I stay up late, and I haven't been getting up at 4 or 5 like I have historically. And I think it's because kid's been away at school. I don't have to get up early. And of course, I haven't since he was able to drive, but whatever. I sleep in a little later now. Don't get up till around 6:30 these days. Hey, a holy Hannah new name, which I'm going to pronounce as Mo Gold. I am Gulaid. Gulaid. Sorry, I'm butchering that. But let's take a look at what you got to say, and we'll go with that. So at 2:35, I'm going with Mo Gold, Mo Goled. If you'd like to type that in phonetically to help me out, that would be great. I don't want to butcher your name. I am sorry about that. So you are Gulaid would be one pronunciation. I want to learn cybersecurity. What start can you tell me, sir? Okay, so that's really broad. I mean, people say, I want to learn cybersecurity. What does that mean to you? Cybersecurity has all kinds of meanings, and a lot of people envision it as, you know, that character on television where they're banging away and they're breaking codes, and they do it in short order and have a beer afterward, or they're pen testing, and the mythical idea of what pen testing is and how it works is not what everybody thinks what it really is. How's that? So you want to know what exactly you mean by getting into cybersecurity. So what I'm going to offer you is 2 things. First and foremost, find out what you think cybersecurity employment means, and then go research that employment. See if that's not exactly, but anywhere close to what you had in mind. If you find somebody in cybersecurity, if you just looked on LinkedIn and do a keyword search on cybersecurity and make a couple of connections and say, can I ask you, a little bit about the job? They will help you. There is no doubt. Some of them are going to turn you down, of course, but there are wonderful and helpful folks out there. I'm going to adjust my camera a little bit. It seems to have bumped down, and I'm not watching it in real time, so I have no idea how much I just did, but I see the top of my brain is being cut off. Sorry about that. Let's see if that helped. Yeah, that's better. So then once you've got an idea of what the job is, or if you looked at it and said, gee, no, that's not what I had in mind, but I do want to get into some aspect of cybersecurity, next thing to do is to start looking at jobs that are of the particular one that you're looking for. Look on the job sites, look at LinkedIn, look at Indeed and Monster and all of those, and see what kind of credentials and backgrounds that they want. So if you're looking for cybersec, you don't need A+ certification. You don't need to wrench around inside a computer and install a CPU. You may, if you're working for something like a forensic lab, have to remove a hard drive and do it in such a way that it won't damage the hard drive or cause problems on the data. So there's some useful skills in there, but you don't need an entire A+ certification. You want to know something about networking. Network Plus is an excellent certification or course of study to begin with, because cybersecurity isn't about mostly what's on this computer. It's about what went from this computer to that computer. And then we'll get hold of both computers and start doing forensics. Or maybe it's a pen testing thing. Pen testing, again, it's all done over the network. If you've got an isolated computer, the only thing you got to worry about is people who sit in front of it. But as soon as somebody can access a resource on that computer from outside that computer, I need to know how that works. I need to know what's going on over the wire, how to capture it, how to interpret it. So after that, I'm going to recommend Security Plus. Security Plus is a very broad course. It covers a huge range of topics in not great depth. So it talks about encryption. It talks about personnel security, facility security, emergency planning, contingency planning, all kinds of other things like that. And it's designed to sort of spark your interest, find out, hey, I would be interested in pursuing this. I wouldn't be interested in pursuing that. And then you can start saying, okay, well, I do want this cybersec. I want to get into decryption. So now you want to start looking into CYSA plus certifications, things like that. And above and beyond all of that, one of the most useful credentials you're going to have is an appropriate 4-year or even a master's degree if you can arrange that. So a formal education carries more weight than certifications. Having certifications and no degree carries more weight than having neither of them. Having both obviously opens more doors for more interviews. It doesn't get you the job, but it'll get your name to the top of the list of people to be interviewed. So I hope that helps. And thanks for coming on board. Nice to see you. Please join us on Discord channel. We'd love to talk to you about this. And I'll hear your name pronounced. Jason, I got my Pico and haven't even started to play with it yet. Did you get it with the magazine? Or did you actually, were you able to buy one? I ordered 10,000 Picos to build a house, Kevin Lopez. That's just for the foundation, dude. A Pico house. Okay, yeah, if you build a Pico size, yeah, I'm with you on that. May not need that much. Yes, new Discord link. All right, so there, Scott posted the Discord link, as I said, at 2:39. So please join us afterward here. If you haven't been there, love to see you. And if you're not watching this real time live, you're watching this in the archives later, join us, man, over at unofficial Total Seminars Discord channel by Jose Braden. Yes, I got that. Okay. Passing 241 questions. Everybody's talking. I see you and hear you. That's good news. Is he alive or zombie, Dave? Oh, man. I just looked at the question. I figured that would be a Tullowit line, not a Scott line. Sylvia, I was wondering. Okay, so 246. Sylvia says, I was wondering if I use IP tables on the Raspberry Pi and have internet coming out from it, if that's a firewall on a public connection. Okay, you got a lot of conflated terms here, Silvio. IP tables, a firewall, by and large, defaults to preventing anything from coming into your computer. However, it may also block things from going out. I recall once I set up an FTP server and IP tables had to be opened so that I could use my FTP client from the inside to reach to the outside. So that's piece number one. It's generally a filter to prevent incoming stuff. Now, incoming stuff means stuff that's initiated from the internet trying to get inside. If you issue a request from inside your Raspberry Pi to a web server, that's automatically going to allow the web server to respond. That will be able to come through because it won't filter a conversation, a connection that's initiated from inside the Pi. All right, that's piece number one. And have internet coming out from it. So I think you mean accessing the internet from the Pi there, which I've covered with my first part. Is that a firewall on a public connection? A public connection means a connection that's literally open to the public. It's the connection, typically a Wi-Fi connection that you get at a coffee shop or at the airport or any other place where the public are allowed to use the facility's internet connection. Now, if you're talking about Windows, Windows has 3 flavors of firewalls. They have a very restrictive set of firewall settings called a profile that says, I am really going to clamp down on all the stuff that's going on here if you're using a public connection. If you're using a private connection, Win 10 only has public and private and domain, and there was different 3 categories prior to Win 10. Then that's a different animal, but Iptables doesn't have pre-built profiles like Windows does for its advanced firewalls and advanced firewall settings. So you got to, it's all the same: public, private, corporate, domain. There is a firewall, and you configure it to filter as you see fit. Hope that helps. Scott McCormick at 248 passed Azure AZ900 today. Oh, dude, and you come here to hang out at Drama? I would be celebrating so hard with a glass shaped like this, but probably not with laminated. No, that's really wonderful news. Congratulations on AZ900. That's wonderful. So, in the words of Mike, get a job. Let's start supporting Azure, because you and the other 11 people who are Azure certified compared to the Amazon quantity of people, I'm teasing you. That's a wonderful thing. Silvio at 249, how can I avoid an evil twin attack using Raspberry Pi on a public connection? You can't. I mean, you can. You use. There's nothing special about how you're going about using a Raspberry Pi as opposed to using anything else with an evil twin. So everybody remember, an evil twin says there is a WAP, a wireless access point, called the SSID Starbucks 1. Yeah, let's make it Starbucks 1. And I want to gather information from people. So I create a second WAP that I power from a battery, whatever, wherever it's accessible. Maybe this is internal to a corporate environment and it's called Corporate 1 or whatever. I just make a WAP that's got the same SSID and hopefully the same password. But if not, I don't know the corporate password. Maybe I'm just a sneaky guy who's trying to get on something. So I'll build a little pre-connection into it that says, hey, our WAP is having trouble. Whatever password you got from corporate or from the Starbucks barista, don't worry about it. Use this one. Or maybe I'll, use your old password, and all I'm doing is collecting them. So all you can do is, first of all, don't trust any WAP that doesn't use the password that you anticipate giving to it, not unless you get a new password assignment from a professional. But is there a technical way to avoid connecting to an evil twin? No, same SSID. They look the same, first come, first served. It's the one your system grabs onto. Now, interestingly, I got a WAP here, and it's got an SSID. Let's say it's called Dave. And I change it out with a different make model, but I give it the same name and I gave it the same password. When my system connects to it, when my host connects to it, it says, hey, you know what? There's something different. I know this is different. And it's true, because your system will also check the MAC address of the interface of the WAP and compare that with what's in its saved profile database. So if there's something different, same thing goes. If you've connected to a WAP before, you connect what you believe is the same WAP and you see something is different, should I connect? The answer is no, and go and talk to the IT department, go and talk to the barista. Hey, did something change? My system is out there. But if it's brand new, you've never connected to it, use caution where you go and what you connect to. And that's true for a Pi or any other computer, tablet, phone. Alex, please stay up late so that we can keep meeting on Discord at my 6 a.m. That kind of happens lately. I've been seeing just before I go to bed, 2 o'clock in the morning, sometimes my time, and just I'm ready to go. Alex says, are you there? Yes, and I'm going to bed. Oh, wait, I have one quick question. Sure, I'll stick around for that. Oh, good reasons, Scott. I love that. I had a voucher to use up before the end of the month. So, okay. Well, that's right out of Mike's book, right? Heat and pressure makes diamond. I've got to use this thing before it expires, or I've thrown away good money. Super. Nigel's talking to Mo. Not the answer I expected to hear from Dave. Yeah, it's just an opinion. You say start with Sec Plus. I say that's crazy. You got to understand networking if you want to be a good cybersecist. I mean, unless you're just sitting in front of a desk and doing decryption. Here's a file. That doesn't happen. I've met CIA decryptors. They needed to know networking. I had a long talk with a couple of them, 3 of them, in a roundtable. Jason Helms, yeah, I got it with the magazine. Okay. And Scott got it with the magazine. Everybody but me. Dave, do you even lift? All right, you asked. I'm going to answer that question because I've been dying to tell somebody this. I told people in the past, truthfully, that over COVID, I have lost over 40 pounds. And I'm still losing at a much slower rate. So diet's great for losing weight. I used to, especially when I was on the road, work out every night before bed. Go to the hotel gym, do whatever. And if there's no hotel, then I would just do sit-ups and push-ups in my room. And when I started that project years ago, I started when I was just gaining a little bit of weight. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do 5 push-ups this week and 5 sit-ups this week. And I'm going to do it every day for a week, or maybe a couple of times a day. And then next week, I'm going to add 5. And the following week, I'm going to add 5. And I did that for years. And I got to the point that I'm doing 100 every night or every morning when I get up. And okay, cool. And then I dropped it. And this was years ago. I don't even remember how many years, but certainly 4 or 5. So I said to myself, self, in addition to this wonderful diet, you got to actually get in shape. So let's start the regimen again. So I started 5 weeks ago, and I started with push-ups. I did 2.5, and that was all I could muster. It was terrible. So I fought my way up to 5 over the course of a week. And the following week, 5 more. And the following week, 5 more. And today I typically do 3 reps a day on push-ups, doing 20 a day. Monday is my go-up day. So Monday I'll do 25. And I'm going to hold there. I'm going to plateau there for a couple of weeks because they're sloppy, fast push-ups. Still more than I could do. Same thing with sit-ups. Now, I'm even much worse at sit-ups. I got a big-ass gut. Yeah, I said ass. I got a big-ass ass, too. So I'm moving up more slowly on those. But push-ups and sit-ups and crunches. And when I get worked up to 25 on both of those, then I'll build up and plateau again at 50 and get to 100 again and be able to do that. And in the meantime, I have been shopping for a barbell. I've had weights forever, and I've never used them except for commercial purposes. So after work today, after Discord, I'm heading down to Academy and Sports and getting me a barbell. So yes, I do even lift after tonight. What's a Pico? Says Alex Aston. Hi, Alex. I have the memory of a gnat. I'm usually pretty good at remembering names I've seen multiple times, and I have this vague recollection I've seen you before, but if you're new, welcome. Glad to see you. So a Pico with magazine. So Raspberry Pi Pico is a little microcontroller that Raspberry Pi Group started shipping a few months ago. And in their initial batch, they have a magazine, and they include it as a freebie with their magazine. You can buy these things from the distributors at $4 a piece. So that was a loss leader for them, and they are so back ordered. I don't know what the number is these days, 170,000 to 700,000 in there. So you got to get hold of one when you get hold of them. If you're interested in electronics, this is much more electronics oriented than it is general purpose computing and Linux oriented. No gun. So look up Raspberry Pi Pico and you will find the information on it. Or you can just go to raspberrypi.org and look in their blog for the Pico stuff. Oz, let's do it that way. 254 is cold today. I'm freezing. You can put the temp here in, oh yeah, well, heck yeah, it's just the beginning of winter for you. So I'm going to guess you're probably around, what, 10, 8? Maybe a little colder than that. 0. Let's see, you were up in north of Sydney. You told me. I got it in my mind. I don't have the name right. Jason Helms talking to Alex and answering the question. Thank you very much. And lots of people offering advice on how to learn about it. Thanks, guys. A Beretta Pico. I'm not into small caliber, small size. If it doesn't hold 13 rounds, I'm not interested. Kidding. Trisha Grace, congratulations to Scott. Okay, you work with AWS and you're Azure certified. Cool, you're bi. Congratulations. Nothing to be ashamed of. There's lots of people who are bi out there. Yeah, I know. I went risque. I do that. Kubernetes exam next. Got 5 Pi rig for testing. We're going to talk for 10 seconds at the end of today's show or after the project about Kubernetes. So stick around for the whole show if you can. You may have some input for me. You picked up a little bit of my tonnage. Thank you. Yeah, there's the weight that I lost. So you found it. In pilot speak, in aircraft, one of the weight categories is called useful load. How much weight can you put in your plane after pilots and fuel? So cargo and people, basically. And so when pilots lose weight, they describe it as I'm gaining useful load. 10 pounds off me means 10 more pounds that I can stick in the back. It's going to super scroll. I feel it coming. I'm passing 303. No push-ups for me, but I'm taking the bicycle to work every day if it's not raining. Cool. 10 miles to work, 10 miles back. Yeah, you got to talk with Scott. Scott is a big bicyclist and competitive bicyclist sometimes. Not so much anymore, but that's great. I've got a bike. My kid takes it all the time, him or his mom's. And his mom's we bought from Scott. Almost at the, okay, I'm at the end of questions here. I'm at the end of the page. I'll make an excuse to get off Discord later to game. Priorities, man. Does Pico compete with Arduino? Yes. Pico is in the same category as Arduino. No, I said nothing less than 13 rounds. Yeah, Alex, if you're not on Discord, join us there, especially after right after drama. We'll be on there. I'll repost Scott. I got it here handy. How do I do this one? Discord link. So posting a Discord link right now. You can join us. You can join right now while we're doing this and then come right back or do it in another tab. All right, so I've just posted it at the current time mark, 3:07. Andre DeGores is a message, lots of each other. Okay, so I'm caught up at 3:07. So I'm going to get started on projects. And Andre and Zach's not here, but we've had a lot of people get tech support jobs lately, and some of them knew this beforehand, and some of them are finding it an incredibly useful skill as we speak. You got a micro SD card. You have a flash drive. You have an external USB, whatever, hard drive. There's one. Let's knock stuff over. All right, so there's a nice external USB hard drive. I got an external USB SSD hanging out here. And I want to wipe it out. I want to get rid of the stuff that was on there because I want to do something fresh. Maybe I just want to wipe it out because I feel like whatever's on there, I don't want to fall into my neighbor's hands, just in case I haven't effectively cleaned off anything personal or, accounts and things like that. So got a specific order of things that need to be done. Order number 1, if you're talking about a real hard drive, you're going to shut down your computer. You don't have to shut it down because it's going to be a SATA drive, right? And SATA is hot swappable. But if you got a hard drive, install it in your computer in an appropriate method. If you got an external device, install it in an appropriate measure. So I have in my hot little hands here a 32 gig micro SD card. And here's a USB hub that's also got various readers in it, including a micro SD and some other things. So project step number one, you don't want to do this after you've started running the programs because they won't refresh necessarily in time. Just plug your micro SD in this instance into your reader, and my reader confirms it with a blue light. Okay, and then you hear the wonk, wonk, wonk. And okay, stuff is opening up right now. And I'm getting a message here that says, Microsoft Windows, do you need to format the disk in Drive, or it says you need to format the disk in Drive D before you can use it. Do you want to format it? No, you don't. We're going to use much more powerful utilities. So anything that opens up, close it. Anything that wants you to format it, cancel it. I can't share yet with you, but I will. So the next thing to do is click in the search menu or touch the Windows button and type in CMD, but don't hit the enter key. And you'll see in the resulting menu pop up command prompt. And you don't want to enter on it. You have two choices here. You can right click on it and select run as administrator, or if it's highlighted, if it came up in the search, you hold down Control, Shift, and Enter at the same time. That's the same thing as doing right click, run as administrator, and that works on all programs. So the UAC control comes up that says, hey, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? Yes, I do. All right, so that's ready. Now I can share with you. Now, one of the ways that I know that I've just opened this up in admin mode is the folder that it took me to, Windows System 32. That's where it defaults to when you launch command prompt in admin mode. If you launch it out of admin mode, it takes it to your home folder, users/Dave R. All right, so the next thing to do is in this program, we're going to run disk part, one word. It's the disk partition manager program. And it goes buzz, 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 grind, 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 and takes you to the disk part environment. Anytime now. Sure, there we go. Okay, so I'm at the disk part prompt. This is an interactive way to run disk part. Disk part can also be run from the command line, but you really got to know your configuration or you can badly wipe something out. So first step in here is to say list disk, singular. And it says, okay, I find 2 disks in this system, and they're obviously very different. Here's a almost 1 gig or 1 terabyte drive. That's my internal SSD, and it was a 32 gig card. So this may be measuring it in gigabytes or gigabytes, don't know, but it's close enough to 32 to know that disk 1 is the one that I want. Now, what I want to do here first is I'm not going to use disk 1 just because I want to demo something for you. I'm going to say select disk 0. And now if I do list disk again, you can see that there's an asterisk beside disk 0. That means any commands that I'm going to do are going to impact this disk. So I don't want to do anything destructive here. So one thing I can do is list partition, singular. Everything is always partitioned, singular. So there's a primary partition on here, and there's a 900 meg recovery partition that starts at the 930 gig mark on the disk. How about list volume? Okay, there's 3 volumes on here, a pair of NTFS partitions, and an unusable, removable partition volume. All right, so let's change disks now. Let's go back to list disk. And I'm going to select disk 1. Okay. You know, I've never tried this. I don't think this works. Now, CLS doesn't work. Clear doesn't work. So you're kind of stuck with working from the bottom of the screen on here. So let me list disk and make sure I've done what I think I've done. Okay, I got an asterisk on disk 1. You can list partition on here. You can list volume, but I've recently wiped this out, so there's nothing on there. But it doesn't matter. If this is the disk that I want and I'm totally happy with it, I'm completely comfortable with it. With the fact that I've selected the right disk, and the next command that I do is going to destroy everything on the disk. then here we go. Type in the command clean, double check everything, make sure you're not doing it to your primary disk, and you hit the enter key, and it goes buzz, 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 grind, grind, grind. My blue light is blinking up there on my reader, writer. And there we go. Disk part successfully cleaned the disk. It understands how to wipe out most partitions. If you try to wipe out a partition on here manually, and it's a funky partition that Windows isn't comfortable with, you may get locked out. This may fix you. If you can't, if you've tried everything here and you can't get rid of everything, let's quit out of here. I'm done with that. So I've exited out of the disk part utility back into the command prompt environment. Let's exit out of that. All right, now it's back to me. So if you can't fix it, if you can't clean off a disk with disk part, then you've got to use third-party utilities. One person uses Rufus, Minitel, or whatever Andre was using. I'm using EaseUS these days. If you're using a Linux machine, the standard Linux partition manager tool that's not installed with all versions of Linux, you got to install it, is called gparted, and that thing is incredibly powerful and can usually do things that Windows can't. One time in my life, I ran into a disk part issue, and it's been in the last year or so, where it couldn't fix whatever horrible damage I did to it. It was after a project, and I was trying to clean some things off manually, and I messed it up so badly that I wound up just throwing the thing in the trash. There was no recovery for it. And I used everything on there. Okay, so that was project number one, how to wipe out all the partitions and volumes on a storage device. It works on hard drives. It works on your regular drive. Don't do it. It works on plug-in external drives, micro SDs, flash drives, whatever you got. So I mentioned that because I cleaned this thing off so that we could do our next installation, and that's installing NextCloud. So as I mentioned at the beginning of today, we're going to use a pre-built image. We're going to just download this image, burn it onto our card, boot it up, and then one or two updates, and it's ready for you to add an administrator account and accounts. And it really is almost that simple, except they make a couple of challenges. Sorry, I had to clean up something that resulted from that exercise. Okay. Get my notes cleared up here. Making and using it is a three-step process, three big steps, and then there's some optional steps afterward to make it more useful. Number one, install NextCloud on your Pi. And as I said, I'm not using the native code straight from the NextCloud site. I'm using it from an organization that used that code to build this image, which means the image, theoretically, I suppose, could be suspect. There may be malware in there. I've looked it over. I've never seen any complaints about it, but I haven't scanned it, so I don't know. Then you boot it up and do some updates and minor configuration stuff. And then you use another computer. You could also use the same computer and establish a browser connection to the web server that's going to install in there. And with that, you're going to hit a menu that says, okay, make an account. And that first account that you make is going to be the administrator account. It's very simple. It's step by step. Now do this, now do this. It tells you exactly what to do. There's no hard questions to answer. And then you use that account to create all the new accounts that you want. Now, what is this thing? NextCloud is kind of like a Dropbox. It's an amount of storage that you're going to allow someone to use to save files. If you're using Dropbox, you get 2.5 gigs of space to do that with. If you're using Box, a competitive product, you get 10 gigs of space to do that with. But there's a problem with Box, and that's the biggest individual file size is only 250 megs. It's not a problem for some people. In fact, for most people, I have a Box account, and only one time in the at least 5 years that I've been running it have I ran into that as a limitation. Obviously, there's a workaround. what's the limitation with Dropbox? Well, total size, 2.5 gigs seems like a pretty good number, but eventually you're going to fill it. And that means you either got to buy more space from them. They have paid accounts, or you got to get rid of files on there. And then here in my mind is, I guess I'm used to it, and this is the way to do it. But when I first learned about this, this really sucked. Let's say I've got somebody out there has 500 gigs worth of files in a folder that they want to share with me. They got Dropbox, I got Dropbox. So they put my name as a share on there. Well, that 500 megs chews into my 2.5 gigs. So now I've only got 2 gigs left available. We are a Dropbox company, and we started out using free Dropbox stuff, but we all had so many projects that we shared with each other that, 10 gigabytes worth of stuff shared across 25 people from 25 people each, and that's all you get, and you're out of space. So we solved that problem with products like NextCloud because I'm the administrator. I set how much space somebody gets, how much they can share. And I can define a paid level if I want, or make it all free. And it's just everything that Dropbox does, NextCloud can do, and much more. Dropbox has added some features. NextCloud is always adding more features and always ahead of the game. So they've got, like I said, crowd sharing, calendars, and all kinds of other goodies like that. We're focusing on the storage part of it today. So I just created an account for Fred, and Fred logs in for the first time. He does that by browsing to my web server. We can talk about how that browse happens, if he's going to go to a named or a port forwarded service or an IP address or whatever. But once he gets there and he logs in for the first time, the system will prompt him and say, hey, do you want to download the client for this? And yeah, there's a Windows client, and there's a Mac client, and there's Linux clients. And again, it becomes transparent. It integrates your Dropbox into your file explorer. So you can just access your Dropbox the same way you access any other folder, anywhere, anytime. And it syncs with local, and it syncs with wherever you specify or whoever you specify. So just awesome stuff. And if they don't do it the first time, they can get it any other time they log in, anytime in the future. So it's very, very cool. All right. So that was all off the top of my head. Now let's read notes and see if there's anything that I missed. So basic NextCloud features include file storage, sharing, other components like shared calendars, more advanced. Now they have lots more advanced elements, and those aren't available at the free tier, but we're just doing free stuff today. Used to be with Dropbox, if you got somebody to sign up for Dropbox and they use your account name as a reference, you'd get 500 more megs of space, up to, I don't know, 10 gigs worth of space, whatever the case may be. That program appears to be gone. I was all over their site this week looking for it and can't find anything in there. And I think it's because they've reached such critical mass. Everybody uses Dropbox that there's nobody left. Let's see, paid tiers for Dropbox. I just got some notes in case you're curious. The first paid tier, 120 years, gets you 2 terabytes of shared space. But if you're going to buy a 2 terabyte SSD, you're going to spend $250, which is 2 years worth of paid tier service at Dropbox. And I don't know about you, but I've used my Dropbox for many more years than 2 years. So again, there's good reasons to do it. We are a paid tier company. We have a lot of data that we share with each other, and so we all have paid accounts. But that may not be appropriate for everyone. There's plenty of other competitors out there, commercial ones that we all know and love, like Google with their Google Drive and OneDrive from Microsoft. And they have limitations, they have benefits. So this is just another one, but I really like this thing. I've used it for a long time. As I mentioned, NextCloud is a follow-on improved product that came from OwnCloud. OwnCloud was a knockoff, as close as it could be to Dropbox. NextCloud can run on Raspberry Pi natively, Ubuntu, other Linux distros, Macs, Windows, and in VMs. Storage devices on a Raspberry Pi. If it's a storage device on a Raspberry Pi, it can be the storage device that you're using for Dropbox. Now, there are better ones than others. The worst one is a micro SD card that has the most limited rewrite and write cycles. From there, flash drives, from there, external hard drives and or SSDs. And you can make any of them a boot device if you use a Raspberry 4 or a Raspberry 3B Plus. A little more effort to boot from your external device on a 3B Plus, but completely doable. Earlier versions, you're going to have to boot from a micro SD. You can make that your whole storage device, or you could just use it as the boot device and then use an external USB device, a flash drive or whatever, as your NextCloud storage site. Okay, covered what you can do with it. When you build it, you're going to build it in-house, and it expects an HTTPS connection. So right after you're done building and you want to start playing, you're going to browse to it. It's going to say, hey, connection's unsafe. It's okay. You're in-house. You can just bypass that and operate it. And if it's only going to be available to your folks in-house, there's better ways to go. A Samba server is probably better. But if you want to make this available to the outside world, there are a few other things that you probably want to do. And I'll cover those after we get into the installation and complete it. So installation, what do I need? I need a Raspberry Pi 3B or above. If you want to boot off your devices, a 3B Plus or above. You need a power supply. You obviously need a network connection. Wired or wireless is fine. I got notes here that says you need a mouse, keyboard, and monitor, or headless access with SSH. Your initial access is going to have to be SSH, not VNC. Later, you can set up VNC, but you never need to. You never need the graphical interface on this thing. And I don't have any, I never used for any of my week's worth of experiments, graphical interface, 100% SSH. You need a storage device with enough capacity to meet your planned needs. Now, if you're just doing this as an experiment this week, 32 gigs, knock yourself out. If you're going to do this as real honest to goodness use, you and some family members and some friends or a few corporate partners or vendors or whatever, don't think anything less than 64 gigs. And I wouldn't in the real world start with anything less than 128 gigs. But again, if you're just experimenting, knock yourself out. The tutorial. There are a few tutorials out there. How to describe what's going on here. There's a pair of them that I referenced for this one. One was the old style, first install Raspberry Pi OS, now install NextCloud, now install a SQL server and a SQL database, and then integrate them and make accounts, and a lot of steps that in the real world, if you're doing it the first time, plan on a couple of days, and you're not going to be happy with it once you learn what it can do and what you should have done in the beginning. Sorry, look like I got something on my chin there. It's a bad image. So the tutorial that I'm using that says use the image, it's very vague. So again, you can use it. I'll put the link up for it in a few moments. But if you use my archive notes from today's download stuff, you're off and running. Their step-by-step, such as it is, it's not very step-by-step, but their order is one of those tutorials where they have you stop and now go download this thing. Now do a few more steps, stop, now go download that thing. So let me give you the list real quick of stuff that you should pre-download so you can do this smoothly step by step. First of all, you should download and install 7-zip, 7-zip. You'll find it at 7-zip.org. And it can detect what version of Windows you're running. I have a story about 7-zip, but I ran a little longer than I wanted before I started, so I'll let that go for now. If you don't already have Putty installed, you can install it. Did I put the link for this in today's notes? I'm sure I did. Yeah, Scott, if you'll put up the links for 7-zip and for Putty and for the Pi Imager, that would be great. Okay, so you want to install 7-zip, you want to install Putty. Now, you don't have to install Putty. Remember, if you're using a Windows machine and you open up command prompt, there is a native SSH terminal emulator program in there ready to go. You just type SSH. But I think Putty's a little more flexible. It's got a little bit more power, can do some neat things that Windows version can't. And then you're going to want the Raspberry Pi Imager. You don't want Rufus. You don't want Etcher, because we want the new features that have come from the Raspberry Pi Imager. You'll find that at raspberrypi.org, WAC downloads. And if Scott's busy and didn't hear me, I'm going to give him about 2 more minutes, and then I'll post these. Oh, heck, I'm just going to copy paste right now. Worst case, they'll be up there twice. I can do that all with one. Couple of spaces there. Couple of spaces there. And a couple of spaces here. Bam. Oh, 203 characters. All right, so I get rid of the word and. I have 199 characters, and off we go. Always something. Okay, so there's 2 ways to install this. One, the old-fashioned way. The other, a little more newfangled. Let me find where I made the notes on where they... Oh, heck, I can get it from here. Stand by. I got 2 different links with how to install this, and I'm trying to make sure I get the right link. Oh, good. Okay, we don't want that one. This is the one I want. All right, I'm going to post a link here of the tutorial that we're using, and it has the download link on where to get the file, the image that we want. Let's go over here, post the link, and this is NextCloud tutorial link. And it's up. Okay, check notes. All right, so not using a published, yeah, there it is. So I'm going to show you this page where this tutorial is. Am I? No. Oh, okay, yeah, NextCloud Pi. This is a good one. Let me show you a link here. Two different ways, 3 different ways, 10 different ways. Okay, we both did. Thanks, Scott. Page not found. Did I copy something wrong? Wouldn't be the first time, would it? Oh, I see what happened. Okay, so this is the kind of sort of tutorial that I'm using today. And notice that this isn't called NextCloud, it's called NextCloud Pi. This is the organization that's created an image. So docs.nextcloudpi.com/en for English, how to install NextCloud Pi. And it's got a followable set of steps. They're not bad. Again, do my steps in order first. And it looks pretty simple, and it is pretty simple, but mine's even simpler. And a lot of this I can demo for you. There's a couple mid steps that I can't because there is no VNC on there, and the Putty thing doesn't work out really well as a share. But then the end step, the final step, I'll show you too. So it's not bad. You'll see what I mean. All right, so step 1 is to download an image. You can get the path to this image, and it's not really an image, that's the problem, from my archive notes or from the link that Scott just posted or the one that I just showed you, the one at docs.nextcloud.pi. And let me share this with you, everything that we got to do here. This is kind of cool. Oh, there's an easier way because I don't have to get into this yet. Okay, something to share with you. When we get done, there's going to be 3 files that we download and or create. And in the end, we only need one of them, but we have to have all 3 to start with. So the first file that you're going to download from the link in the tutorial is this one, NextCloud Pi 112720. That looks like it was made a long time ago. Not that long. It's only 1 revision out of date, and we're going to update that when we go. And notice that its extension here is BZ2. So that's a problem for us. Our writing utility, our Raspberry Pi Disk Imager, doesn't know how to work with a BZ2 file. So I've just downloaded one, we will pretend. Heck, I won't pretend. I actually put one together here, and now I'm going to demo it for you. I don't know what you're going to be able to see here and what you're not, but we'll find out. So let me get into my File Explorer. Let me share this with you. All right, so you're really looking at my file system here. Now I'm going to right click on here. Oh, good. That's got a green outline. It's shared. And I've installed 7-zip. So all I'm going to do is hover my mouse over 7-zip. Oops. And I'm going to say extract here. And it goes buzz, 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 grind, grind, grind. And it takes a few minutes. So I'm going to let that go for a moment. But what's going to happen is it's taking this file, which is 1 gig in size, just a hair under a gig, and it's going to expand it into a tar file, a .tar. A .tar file is something that a Linux computer understands natively, and they all come with a utility to extract contents of tar files. A tar file is kind of like a zip file, a little different. All right, I'm going to unshare that with you while it's buzzing and grinding and describe what happens next. So once that expands into a tar file, again, the Raspberry Pi image writing utility doesn't understand native files, native tar files. So we have to extract that again using exactly the same process. We're going to browse to this new tar file. It's going to have the same name as the old one. The old one said .tar.bz2. This new one will say .tar, and it's going to be 3 times larger. It's about 3 gigs in size. So we'll right click, we'll hover over 7-zip, we'll click on extract here, and it will take the 3 gig tar file and extract the 3 gig IMG image file. And that's our whole goal here. All I got to do is get to the image file. It's 3/4 done. Trying to get good notes out of here to figure out what it's done. It tells me compression. Okay, he's giving me remaining time. That's what matters. So it's used 1 minute and 55 seconds so far, 30 seconds to go. We'll wait that out, and then we'll do the second extraction. And they're not very clear that you have to do that in that tutorial. Took me a little bit of figuring out the way they wrote it, what they had in mind. Excuse me, hiccups. Three, two, one. Let's see if this doesn't do that 100% done and then waits. Okay, so let's share this result. So here's my new file that got extracted, the .tar file. You can see it's 3.1 gigs. So again, I'm just going to right click on it. hover over 7-zip, extract here, and this is much quicker. Here's my time to complete. So when this is done, if you don't already have a micro SD card installed in your reader-writer utility or in a socket in your computer, that's the next step. We're going to have to image this thing onto our micro SD card. So plug in your micro SD card into your computer that you're going to do this on. Unshare that. And for this one, I absolutely want to use, oh, hey, let me show you a cool graphic for that. What we just did. Because, you know, I made all this time putting it together. You ought to be able to see it. That's the photos. Click, share. Oops, got to shrink this back to normal size. So this is two of the four steps that we're going to do. We downloaded this BZ2 image file. We used 7-zip, selected extract here, and created a tar file. Then we did it again, extract the image file. So next we're going to use the Raspberry Pi imager. We're going to use the imager to preset some values, and then we're going to, final step, write the image to the micro SD card. Both of those graphics are available in the archive. You can study them and be in awe over them if you so choose. All right, let me launch my Raspberry Pi imager and show you why we want to use this. They tell you to use Balana Etcher, and I will show you why you would much rather use the Raspberry Pi imager. So I'm going to use that same micro SD card that I cleared the partitions from, he said, ending the sentence with a preposition, but so be it. Share this guy. So I'll start by choosing the OS that I want to burn. It's not available in this list. It's custom, so I'm going to use custom. Okay, it's in the NextCloud folder or the NextCloud download folder. We'll use this one. We just did that. I have to double click it on here, goober. Okay, so there's the image file. We click it, we open it. Pick your storage device. There's my little 32 gig micro SD card. Now, before you hit the right button, this has a native Raspberry Pi OS on it. So we can use the pre-configuration utility, Control-Shift-X, and that brings up this message. So I'm going to give it perhaps a host name, maybe NextCloud Pi. Remember, whatever values you put in here. This is the most critical thing because you're going to have to SSH this thing in the beginning. So enable SSH. You can set up a Pi password on here. I'll put in some gobbledygook. Oh, good, it covers that, so I'll use a real one. My stock in-house. Now, you're not ready to hit save. There's still a pull down on here. If you choose, you can configure your Wi-Fi. I got an AC in here, so it's called ADB5. And here you have a choice of showing the password or not showing it or sharing. We'll just put in some gobbledygook because I'm not actually going to hit the right button on here. Select your Wi-Fi country. I should pick Zimbabwe, huh? Okay, I'm US. And you get the persistent settings stay next time you run it. Doesn't matter. So once you've got all the values in here that you're happy with, save. And remember your password and remember the name of the server. It's going to make your life a lot easier. And now you're ready to hit the big write button and it will write the image. And this one takes about 20-25 minutes for my system to write it and to do a verify on it. And when it's done, it says bing, because I said eject when you're done, and you're all set. While you're waiting for the write, set up your Raspberry Pi. Connect your wired connection to it if you so choose. Don't hit the power to it yet. Hook up a monitor, keyboard, or mouse if you choose. And then when it's all done, take your micro SD card, put it in the slot. I got a slot right here. No, there's already a card in there. I'm going to pull it out. I'll get them confused. Now I have to clean this one off when I'm done, huh? And add power to it. And it's going to boot up. And it's going to be a horrifically slow boot. Wait for at least 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. Now I'm at a point where I can't show you the steps. Just got to talk through them, but they're all really easy. So after 10, 15, 20 minutes, run your favorite IP scanner, Nmap, Angry IP scanner. I use Advanced IP scanner, whatever you've got, because we have no idea what IP address that thing came up with. Now you could try the Bonjour thing that we talked about 2 weeks ago. If you've installed Bonjour on your computer, you may be able to open a connection with it from Putty or SSH by calling it name of the server .local. So it's worth a shot. But if not, use an IP scanner, find the IP address of the device, and then establish an SSH connection with it. So I can do that with you here now. I'll bring up Putty, because we're 2/3 done. Now I'm establishing a Putty connection here. Usually when I establish a Putty connection with a Raspberry Pi, as soon as you hit the enter key on the password, it says you're in. This thing takes 5 to 10 seconds for it to get in. It's a very complicated thing. So don't panic if it's not connecting right away. It will. And that first time, that took minutes. So I just hit the enter key and walked away and came back 5 or 10 minutes, maybe even longer. I went and had dinner with the family and watched some TV. So it was more than 30 minutes before I came back and checked it out. But when you come back, this is what you'll see the first time you log in. You'll see a very fuzzy logo. See if I can get that a little fuller screen. From NextCloud. And obviously I've logged in here in the past, tested it this morning and all week. And when you get there, it's going to say it's out of date, and it will tell you the command to run to bring it up to date. And here again, this is one of those time-consuming things. By the way, that first boot boots just like any other Raspberry Pi boot. It checks out the size of your device. It checks out the size of what was installed, and it says, okay, wait, I'm going to expand the file system to the maximum size of your storage device. Okay, steps. We burn the image. Run the imager, SSH, save changes, NextCloud. Step 4, prep your Pi, boot it. Find out the IP address. Okay, so the command that they tell you to run, I'll put it here on the screen, but I'm not going to run it because everything with this system is slow. In fact, before you run this command, you should do the usual. This is it's a Raspberry Pi OS, so you should run sudo apt update and then run, or on the same line after it's done. I always do mine on the same line, ampersand sudo apt -y upgrade. And that'll upgrade Raspberry Pi OS to the current version. And much to my surprise, it was only one rev out, so it happened very quickly. Then you do what the tutorial says, run the following command. Oh, you may have to reboot after that. Sudo ncp-update. and you'll hit the enter key, and Uncloud will update. And then again, reboot after that, establish an SSH connection to it, and you will see this when you log in. It's up to date. So it's done. Nextcloud is now installed. Get that out of there. I don't want to run that right now. So I don't even need SSH anymore. Now, if you want to go do some configuration stuff for the Raspberry Pi part of it, you can run sudo space raspi-config. We've seen this before in many installs. We don't have a graphical interface the way they set it up. It's 100% text. And when you reboot, or when you boot it the first time, nothing will appear on your monitor. It's after you get that first boot done with, and you know you can connect to it with a putty session or something else, then when you reboot it, things will come up on the monitor, but they just don't come up. So here we might set up display options, set a given resolution value, stuff like that, and whatever other kind of things happen. I haven't made any changes to my system here with Raspi config. I've just tested it all and it works great. So we're done with this. Close out of that SSH session. And now you can do this on the Raspberry Pi, or you can do this. How am I doing here? I got 10 minutes to go. Sorry, I can show you everything I need to do in 5 minutes. Open up a browser session with, again, a browser on the Pi or from another computer. So let me make a new session here. Share it. Okay, internally, I'm 192.168.1.101. And this is what you're going to run across right off the bat. It says, wait a minute, I only take an SSH connection. Now we can bypass that for now, and then later you can put in a free certificate from something like Let's Encrypt. I'm actually planning on a show about that one. So into advanced, and down here, this is the way Brave handles these connections. Proceed to. Other browsers will do it a little bit differently, but we'll take this as is. So proceed to it. And this is a fresh install. I haven't done anything in here. So notice that he creates a user for me. It's called NCP. Write this stuff down and save this password. Copy and paste it someplace. You are going to need this. Now you can change it all later, but I would open up a little notepad on here. Yes, I mean an HTTPS connection. Thank you, Scott. Not an SSH. I've said SSH so many times today. I just can't do another one. All right, so I'm saving these two settings because I have not done these on this system yet. Account name NCP. So this is my admin account. And his password. Okay, save that to my folder. I don't know why it, oh. So he tells me I can get at it by browsing it to https nextcloudpi.local:443. That may work, may not. And this password can be changed from the command line later with nc-password. Good thing to remember. You might have to sudo that. All right, doesn't matter. I don't need to save all that junk. Or here's another way to get to it. Password can be changed. Yeah, same stuff. Print it, activate it. So we'll activate it. Oh, wait, these are different. Your Nextcloud Pi user is NCP. Your Nextcloud user is, so Nextcloud Pi user is NCP, and your Nextcloud user is also NCP, but he has a different password. So I'm going to print that out. I think I'm going to have to save this because I might have to show you a little further. I don't want to print it right now. Stop it, you goobericious goober. All right, so we activate. And you're done. Now you just log in with the NCP account, and you will be presented with an administrator menu that lets you make users. It's all list oriented. How much space do you want them to have? What's their password? You'll set the initial password. I don't know if I did the right one, if I should have picked user or the one on top. I should have picked the one on top, NCP. There's a 4443 on this thing, and it automatically took me there. So there may be a typo. Yeah, I think they typoed this because I got into this thing yesterday. Oh, wait a minute. Ah, there we go. It is 4443 in-house. So there's your first run. And I'm not going to run through all this junk with you. Yep, exactly. So this is it. You'll go in here, you'll set up your own profile parameters, and then you'll have a menu over here on the left-hand side. If I do nothing now, I can begin this process. So I'm done. So the only other things that you got to worry about now are who's going to access it. You're going to want to put a certificate in here, get that from Let's Encrypt, and I can run you through the process. We've done that before. Then you want to port forward it and either make it accessible by its IP address. The people that you're going to share with, you're going to have to tell them the public address of your router, and then you're going to have to port forward from, well, the user is going to use 443. The admin uses 4443. Excuse me. And of course, the easiest thing to do is to set up a DDNS so that it can have a name out there. And then you use port forwarding with that, and you're off to business. I used my one with shared people for 2 years for the homeowners association that I was a member of. I bailed out of it this year, too busy talking with you folks. But that's everything there is. So we've only got 3 minutes left of the show. I'm going to go check final questions. But we've covered everything that you need to do. Everything else is just menu oriented and simple stuff. It's a very easy install. And you can do this, excuse me, and you should do this. Let's go to the right page here. There we go. All right, I'm going straight to the end of the list since there's only 3. Oh, yeah, you know what? Yeah, there we go. Okay, I see Scott's posting links for The Guardian. I was in news here that, we've seen the mouse plague over there. Lots to eat. Well, is it better or worse than the rabbit plague? No, you had a rat. You had some kind of plague. Rats, rabbits, both. All right. If you have any questions that I missed that are really critical and I can answer in the next 2 minutes, do that, because there's a lot of stuff that's appeared here and I'm not going to be able to find anything. Scott has probably dealt with everything from everybody. Let me throw the contact info up here right quick. How do we get here? 13. Hey, thanks for everybody liking and subscribing, or at least liking. That's great. Share. So anybody who's watching this on the archive or didn't watch the beginning of the show, I am Dave Rush. I'm the senior instructor at Total Seminars and resident Raspberry Pi guy. We do this show every Friday, 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock Central Time. And this very channel, Mike Myers does 2 AMA shows, Monday and Wednesday, same time and channel. If you want to talk with me and you're not watching live, you can catch me at daver@totalsem.com or drushtx at yahoo.com. Likewise, catch Scott at scottj@totalsem.com, our senior editor, or Mike Myers himself at michaelm@totalsem.com. 1 minute to go. See what happened in that last minute. Go down to the bottom. Yes. All right. So nothing new. Oh, Tulowit says, Dave Rush, have you considered doing a Pi project to use Pi as your webcam and then streaming via that Pi cam on Drama? Yes, I have taken initial steps on that. We've got Zoom running on it acceptably. I've got audio working on it. So yes, I am taking that as a project, and it won't be the far distant future once I'm absolutely satisfied with the quality of it. At a minimum, I will have it join a Zoom session, and it can be camera B, right? Okay, everybody, have a great weekend. Work on COVID, work on CompTIA studies, play with Raspberry Pis, catch us on Discord over the weekend. Monday is Memorial Day here in the States. It's a national holiday. Mike and Scott are planning on doing the show as they have been for the last 3 weeks at the same table in the same place. I'll work the background, and Scott's off to his meeting. I'm going to close everything down here. Let's go to the right page to do that. And everybody, you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you on Monday if you're around, and if not, next Friday. Good night.